So I have been a music director at many churches over the years, as a volunteer, on staff, at bigger churches, at smaller churches, and also at medium-sized churches. And I have had a lot of opportunities of training people, elevating teams, and I've also had a lot of failures with that as well. And I just wanted to share my thoughts, some of my tips and things that I've learned over the years when it comes to growing and elevating a music team. So now there are 3 different elements that I've learned over the years that are the main elements with growing any team, no matter how big or how small. First is communication. Second is structure. And third is growth opportunities. Now, I'm not going to get to all 3 of these because these are 3 really big topics. Since this is not like my normal style video here on my channel, I wanted to see if you guys are interested in me doing those other 2. So I'm just going to put this one video out here for now. And you guys let me know in the comments and liking and sharing this video if this is something you want me to finish this series on in this year. So let's jump into it. I want to give a massive thanks to Phenyx Pro for sponsoring today's video. If you guys are interested in my in-ear systems that I use today, feel free to check out my links in the description below. Now, the first thing we need to understand when it comes to communication is that there's pretty much 3 levels of communication, I will say, when it comes to using in-ears and different things like that. First is the drummer having in-ears. And the reason why that is because whenever your drummer has in-ears, he can use tracks, he can play with loops, different things like that that will keep the entire band locked in. And this is the level 1 of this because only one person knows what's happening. It's not the best place to be, but it's very possible. I've been at a lot of churches where the drummer is the only person that has tracks or loops in their ears, and we just all have to flow. But the next level, level 2 of this, would be all of your band having in-ears. I know a lot of you guys probably already have that. Your band has in-ears. The reason why that's important is because now everybody in the band can reference if they're off, they're on, if their rhythm's a little bit off, what section they're going to next, and also they can hear themselves just even better, which helps them communicate and play better. And the last level of this is where your band and singers have in-ears. Now, this element is a big change because now your singers can sing tighter. They can know exactly what moment is coming up. They can actually hear their voices and not over sing, which happens a lot of time. That third level of communication is where you see a massive, massive elevation of your team because you become tighter, more polished, and you guys can communicate easier. I say all that to say, to preface before we go into talking about talkbacks, in-ears, all this kind of stuff, because these 3 types of communication is what I've seen in a lot of different churches. Some churches only have a drummer that has in-ears. Some churches only has a band that has in-ears. And some churches that has all of it, but they don't know how to use it correctly. So today I hope this helps you when it comes to you growing and how you use the equipment that you have and how you can get the most out of what you do when it comes to communication. Now, the first big part of communication that has changed, oh my gosh, so much of how I grown my music team is having a talkback. Guide is that sound where they're telling the voice is telling you like chorus 2, 3, 4. And I know a lot of you guys, before you click off, you're going to be like, oh, I know what a talkback is. I don't need to learn anything about the talkback. Stick with me, because there are some things and some misconceptions about a talkback that I just want to address in this little section right here. First, a talkback is very, very necessary when it comes to approaching live moments. When I first came to my current church, there wasn't a talkback present. And when I tell you an overnight elevation of the music team happened whenever we got a talkback, I told them, I was like, hey, we need a talkback. Even though it was just going to the band ears for quite a while, it elevated the music team so fast. It felt like it was overnight. And now the misconception with this is that you should have multiple mics on every single musician. Now, I'm going to step on some toes right here. I do think it is great to have talkbacks, for a lot of musicians and things like that, but it's not a need when you're first getting started. Even at my church, we only have one talkback mic, which whoever the band leader is has that talkback mic. For some people, you really want that, but I'm gonna just go ahead and tell you, if you're just getting started, just do one, because what happens is that if you have more than one, it can get very confusing on who's talking, who's calling the shots, what's going on, especially if a drummer is playing, he throws a talkback on while he's playing, and it's just like, Now, I'm not saying I'm against having multiple talkback mics, not at all. I think you definitely should have it when you get there with your team. But at the beginning, I would definitely suggest just having one. So the next part of communication is monitoring. In-ears versus just straight up speaker monitors. In-ears become such a staple part of a lot of churches nowadays, and I think it has been an incredible way of elevating music teams. If any of you guys have like speaker monitors, that's how I grew up playing, was just like a speaker like pointing at my face and pushing my sound through, my mix through, which creates a lot of issues, a lot of different things. What monitors have done is really cleaned up the audio, not just in the room, but also cleaned up and tightened up our playing when it comes to playing with a team in general. I've been using in-ears for years in my professional career as a musician, but at my current church, we've only had in-ears for our band members for years now. But recently we just got some new in-ear monitors that are budget set up to actually sound really great for our singers to use. When I've done this on the road with artists and different things like that, singers having in-ears was the game changer, because communication is so easy. People always know where we're going. We always knew if there was an issue. There's just so many benefits to the singers having in-ear. So since we haven't had in-ears, one of the big things we were doing recently is onboarding and setting up some new in-ears for our singers to help them out on our team. All right, so we're here at my church, Turning Point in Nashville, Tennessee. Today we're going to be setting up the in-ear monitors for our background vocalists. We're using a Phenyx PRO system, which I use on the road a lot. They're pretty simple. I've used them before and they're really great. We've used other ones in the past, are a little bit, higher dollar ones, but I think this is going to be pretty simple setup. Our guy Bo over here, you can't see him. You can't see Bo. Bo is going to be helping me set this up. He's an audio engineer here at the church. And so about to get them unboxed and just get them set up.
I love y'all.
There we go. So what's the headlamp for?
Headlight is just to let people know that I'm really serious.
So this one unit right here has you can have up to 4 different mixes, and you have these are all like the output or the inputs, and then we're gonna go out. If any of you guys have seen my video where I talk about how to record for social media, like being a musician, having like a loop out actually is really great. This is exactly what I was talking about. If you are trying to record your mix, what's happening in your in-ears, this is what I was talking about. It's like if you have like this loop, the loop out, you could just hook up your audio recorder, or you can hook up any type of like iRig or anything like that, and get your in-ear mix going and recorded while you're doing video separately, which is literally a huge key for me when I travel. All right, Bo, what's step 2?
We're going to send signal to the unit and make sure that our routing is good. So I do see signal here coming in on that mix bus. Should go away, and now our next one, there it is, the next one, and there we have it. I verified signal. Now I gotta label these so I can keep track of myself, and then we're gonna fire a pack up and listen to audio integrity.
So these are the actual like packs that will go on your belt clip. It's like a hard plastic, and so if you're going to get ones that are a little bit more budget friendly, they're going to probably have this kind of hard plastic, but it doesn't feel cheap or anything like that, but it's nice. So this is what all the singers are going to have on their belts. So the reason why wireless packs are so important for singers to have is because they can hear the talkback, they can hear the cues from the track if you're using tracks. I will say this is not something you have to have if you're using tracks, but it really, really, really helps with your singers staying on the track and hearing when they're off the track. For years now, we have done it tracks without our singers having any in-ears, and we've been able to stay on, but the only issue has been they would never know when they were off the track. And so this has helped so much when it comes to, them hearing the BGVs, hearing where they're supposed to come in, having those cues in their ears to where they could just have freedom to worship and also to just engage the crowd.
These packs say they have a range of 164 feet. Is that good for, audio?
That's a pretty substantial range. Most of the indoor spaces that I worked in Nashville around town are well below that. The distance from front of house to a stage, I would say the standard is 100 feet. Hey, 1, 2, 2.
I see something.
Hey, yep, 1, 2, 2. Hey, yeah, 1, 2.
Does it sound clear?
It's very clear. It is clear. We'll see what the range is like. Hey, yep, 1, 2, 2. Hey, 1, 2, 2. Hey, yep.
He looks psychotic.
So what we're going to do is we're going to turn on all of the packs and kind of put them up on the stage next to each other so we can see and simulate what it would be like with all of them on and see if we have any frequency issues since they're all coming from this one unit.
1, 2, hey, yeah, 1, 2.
Oh, okay.
I'm getting a little fuzz in mine. Are you getting?
Yeah, a little fuzz. I am getting a little fuzz. I mean, honestly, from all the ones that I've used on the road, this is not bad at all. I think with the PAS 227X antenna will probably help.
Okay, so the frequency range is 540 to 580 millihertz. That's what you said? So what's the last thing we're going to do before we pack her up for the clinic tomorrow?
We're going to ballpark in-ear mixes.
They are going to have their own mix control. What we use is this app called MixQ. And so all of these singers will have this app and they'll have their control of all the different channels for their mix. So when we're in rehearsal, they could be getting mixes. So we're going to talk through all of this tomorrow with them, which a lot of them have already used these packs and we've used these before in other places, but we just haven't really, really did it for our church until now. So it's not going to be a huge learning curve, but it's going to be really helpful for communication because communication is everything whenever you are playing music. All right, so now that we have our in-ears, now that we have a Talkback, let's talk about how to use these to our advantage and elevate our team. Now, with your whole team on in-ears, your singers and your band, the biggest thing you're gonna have to make sure it happens is that there is not confusion whenever someone is talking in the Talkback. Really great thing to do is make sure you always identify who you're talking to.
Spencer, are you coming through at all? Remember to hit on 4, Derek.
One of the issues I've had before is that I would say, hey, play this thing. And then the singers look back like I was talking to them, but really I was talking to the drummer, or I was talking to the guitar player, or I was talking to the keys player. And so now when you have these in-ears, instead of saying, hey, play the kick here, say, hey, drums, play this. Hey, guitar, play this. And if you have multiple guitars, you say, hey, Spencer, play this. Hey, Kent, play this. That small element can make a massive, massive difference. Now, when it comes to giving cues to vocals, one of the big things are a lot of times vocalists are still giving the chorus or the verse or the bridge, or they're giving all these hand signs. What you want to do is if there's nothing else very pertinent that's happening, help your music leader out, whoever's the worship leader is giving signs, give those through your Talkback, especially if you're in a moment where you're not playing with the track.
We're going to the bridge. Your name is right here to the floor.
Those little elements like that make a massive difference because now every one of the singers are hearing you, and so they can all adjust accordingly. If they're going to flip, if they're going to go to parts, if they're going to do unison, if it's a solo part, it makes a massive, massive difference. Now, something I trained my drummers to do way early on is to always keep rhythm with what the click is doing for the singers, especially in moments where drums are not in, so they can always stay on. But now that your singers have in-ears, they could just follow the click. And if they have trouble staying with the click, what that means is that they need to be trained on it. Now, we just recently did this with our team, one of our clinic weekends, because we have this thing called a quarterly clinic where we teach and train our musicians and singers on techniques and things like that 4 times in the year. So we took one of our clinics this year and we just made it a vocal training clinic when it comes to learning how to use the in-ear system. Now, my last part of this, where communication is absolutely vital, is when it comes to creating transitions. This is a massive part of making your team sound amazingly professional, is having very smooth transitions. Now, there's 3 different transitions that I've definitely used in my professional world and also at my church. The first one is the musical transition. What a musical transition is where the band or music leads the transition. So it doesn't necessarily have to be the vocalist saying anything. It's the music that is changing the keys and leading the transition into the next song seamlessly. That is a very popular one when you have a very talented band, or if you have a lot of, time to prep for your service and your set. You can create a musical transition that's built into the track. That is what these musical transitions are for. Now, another example of a transition is a vocal transition. And what a vocal transition is where your worship leader actually leads the transition. So let's say you're playing a worship song and there is no great way of getting from the key you're in to the key of that song, and you just have to stop and start. They will say something to the audience while you are changing keys. So the band is changing keys, the piano player, whoever's playing, is changing keys. So if you're going from G to G sharp or somewhere where it's man, this is going to be really hard to try to find a musical transition to, just have your worship leader say something. Say why don't we lift our hands when we worship, and why don't we connect, find a way of connecting people to God. You could say something, a scripture, say a little testimony while that transition is happening, and people are focused on them versus what's happening in the background, which is the key changes. And I'm telling you, that little transition right there has gotten me through quite a bit.
You change keys. Let's see, I forgot about the key change.
We're not trying to hurry.
Yep.
We're not trying to rush.
Here we go.
We're in the presence of the Almighty God. We're at the foot of the King of Kings.
Here we go.
Verse 2, 3, 4.
If you guys are looking for something, if you're in the moment and you don't really have any musical transitions, this is a great one to utilize. Now, the last transition that is a very popular one that I've used over the years is the flow transition. Our church likes to move with the Spirit. We like to move with what's flowing. So if we're in a moment and we have people in the altar crying, we're not going to just stop and just move on. We're going to sit there. We're going to facilitate that moment a little bit longer.
My victory, repeat my victory.
Now, of course, we have a structure that we stick to with the track, and then we just go back into it in a certain area. So the way we approach our tracks is that we do the structure up to a certain point. And a lot of times with songs is getting to the bridge. And just that's our section to kind of flow in. But the issue has been over the years with us in the beginning, when you got to that section, it's just okay, how do we get out of this now? This is where the flow transition comes in play. And so what this does is that when you're in rehearsal and you know that you're potentially going to flow and you just want to be prepared for that, but then we always know how we're going to end the song. That's the key. It's all right, once we're done with our flow, we're going to end on the chorus soft. Okay, cool. That's what we're going to do.
All right, let's bring it down. Let's bring it down. Sing it softer. Say when they're with a little bit.
I want to know you.
But all of this is determined before you get into the service. And that helps you with your flow, because now you're in the moment. Even if you're just oh my gosh, we're going back into this. We always know, no matter what combobulation or structure we have within the song, we know what our ending is. And that's going to help our transition to the next song. Now, I know some of you guys probably know this information, but I really hope this helps you guys, because the thing is that having in-ears and having these systems are so important. But the part of this that really helps you elevate is how you use the equipment that you have. Because sometimes you have a church that doesn't have that much and they can sing better than the church that has everything. It's all in how they use what they have. And so if there's anything you get out of today, I want you to learn how to use what you have to the best of your ability. Now, if you guys enjoyed today's video, please let me know in the comments below, because that's how I'm judging if I'm going to continue posting the videos in this series on how to elevate your music team. And if you like this content, please like and subscribe, and also share it if you feel like somebody, a friend or family member, would get something out of today's video. Now, if you want to support this channel, there's a couple of ways you can. You can go to my website, travisdykesmusic.com, and make a purchase to any of the products that I have on there. And you can also check out my affiliate links in the description below, to where if you click and make a purchase through any of those links, this channel gets a kickback to bring you more videos. Now, if you want to see what a normal Sunday is like at my current church, click this video right here.